Welcome to the IREL podcast. Are you sick and tired of real estate gurus pitching their next free construction deal, only to find out years later they were completely wrong? Worried the next overseas conference you spend thousands to attend will only be used to sell overpriced lots and deserted developments? Join thousands of other international real estate seekers who are looking for their place in paradise without the sales pitch. Straight from your host, Taylor White.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the IREL podcast. I am your host, Taylor White. We have one of the most talked about overseas expat communities for North Americans being discussed today with Ryan Braasch from Inside Panama Real Estate in Boquete, Panama, and we'll get the true story on the local real estate scene and have you coming away wanting to investigate its local property market further or cross it off your short list entirely and continue listening. Right now from Ryan, you will learn why a humble guy from Wisconsin was drawn to Panama and the exact reasons he has never left Boquete. What price ranges Ryan sees an inventory drop in and how you can take advantage of this and profit. The one strategy Ryan believes is best today and exact steps on how to accomplish it. Reveals the cost per meter on average of completed homes ranges between $700 to $1,000 per square meter. Reconfirms what an earlier guest said about local financing and techniques you can use instead. And much more. And don't forget, if you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Ryan's contact details, links on buying or selling Boquete real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/8. That's irelpodcast.com/8. Grab yourself a café con leche, bollo, and listen close as Ryan weathers a cold and brings Boquete directly to you. My Spanish is rusty, but in case you can't tell, I'm excited. Let's get Ryan on the phone. Hey Ryan, it's Taylor White. I'm excited to have you on the IREL podcast today, straight from Boquete, Panama, so we can get to know you personally. Tell us about yourself and where your stomping grounds were before you ended up in Boquete.
Hi Taylor, thanks for speaking with me today. I'm originally from a small town in the state of Wisconsin in the United States. I moved to Milwaukee and attended the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee to study business, stuck around for a few years after college, and then decided to explore the Southwest USA. I moved to Scottsdale area of Phoenix in 2003, and I became an avid rock climber and hiker and found myself traveling to Flagstaff and Sedona frequently. I realized I just couldn't take the heat of the desert valley anymore, so after a year in Phoenix, I made the move north to the small mountain town of Flagstaff. After a couple of years working and goofing off there, a good friend of mine encouraged me to look into graduate school, so I enrolled at Northern Arizona University for my MBA. From there, I was hired by a large home builder and moved again to work in Northern California. The housing market was starting its downward turn when I began working with the company, and after a couple of years, I decided it was time to really take some time off and explore. I was single and in my early 30s at the time, so it was easy for me to just take off, and I ended up here in Boquete, Panama.
Awesome, Ryan. I have lived and been traveling to Panama for many years now, so I am really looking forward to your take on Boquete. And so listeners and I can get a better idea of you professionally, give us your brief resume leading up to working at Inside Panama Real Estate.
Sure. I have graduate and undergrad degrees in business and took classes focusing on marketing and finance. Throughout my career, my jobs have always been customer service related. And I've always been drawn to people, especially those doing exciting new things, and particularly those interested in travel. I became very interested in real estate as well, the overall building process, and the latest and greatest building techniques while working with a highly respected builder in Northern California. When demand for housing began to slow in the U.S. and my opportunities for rapid career advancement lessened, I moved to the town of Boquete, province of Chiriquí, in the country of Panama, and began working with a worldwide real estate brokerage.
Great, Ryan. We actually had Michael Vitovich on an earlier show that listeners can find on our site about Coronado, Panama, and his real estate savvy is on a completely different level and someone whom I hold in the highest regards. Now, we are getting more familiar with who you are both on a personal and professional level. Let's start to dig into your journey just a little bit. Take us back to your mindset. what were some of the reasons why you decided to look at other countries to begin with years ago? And then maybe which countries you were considering before choosing Panama?
Well, everyone has different reasons for wanting to live abroad. And for me, I guess I just always envisioned myself living and working internationally. I'd been to a few foreign countries prior to this point in my life, but I really wanted to travel extensively and for a long period of time. My original idea was to start in Central America and work my way south until I found something that really impressed me or until I simply grew tired of the road. Somewhere in the very loose stages of planning, I started talking with a real estate broker / attorney in Panama City. And this person urged me to begin my journey in Panama City and to visit Boquete, which I have never heard of before. He explained that he had many international clients, particularly from the U.S., Canada, and Northern Europe, and he was looking for someone who could understand his clients' mindsets with respect to real estate needs. What he really needed was someone to advise foreigners interested in purchasing real estate and to give those clients an idea of how to do so. I laughed at first because I had no intention of moving from the Bay Area of Northern California just to begin working immediately in a foreign country and without speaking the language very well at all. But this broker kept encouraging me, so I decided to humor him and to make Panama and particularly Boquete my first stop. I arrived to this incredible mountain town nearly 4 years ago in nothing but a backpack and a laptop, and I have never left this spot. To this day, I still have not taken that trip through South America, but instead find myself feeling very fulfilled living and working in this one little spot in Central America. Once I learned that I was comfortable living and working while immersed in this different culture, I did consider the possibility of other countries, those being Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Costa Rica. After doing the research, I liked what I was seeing with Panama over the other countries with regards to the location, government infrastructure, investment opportunities, cost of living, and the overall growth of the country.
Ryan, listeners and I are always fascinated to learn about which countries people have considered and why. Now, let's delve deeper into Panama as a whole, and then why you chose Boquete in particular versus other popular Panama mountain locations such as Volcan or Santa Fe de Veraguas.
Sure, I prefer Boquete over anywhere else in Panama because of the mix of outdoor activities, opportunities for social interaction, which include people from all walks of life and from all over the world, and the ease of access to the commercial center of Chiriquí, which is the city of David, and all of this while still being somewhat remote and still having a lot of culture and stunning natural beauty.
Well, Ryan, I couldn't agree more. And as I said earlier, lived in Panama and not too far from Boquete for a period of time. So I spent many days hiking up and down the mountainsides with my dog, enjoying the fresh air, drinking a cup of coffee maybe at Coffee Duran or dessert at Fresas Mary, and then enjoying dinner at a local international restaurant. And through my travels, I am a firm believer in that I either get a place or I don't. Share with us some reasons why Boquete speaks to you.
The variation of outdoor recreational activities, as you've experienced in the past, really spoke to me when I arrived. As a rock climber, this is the place to be, and I've participated in assisting with the development of the sport on some small level. The hiking trails are incredible. Volcan Baru, the inactive volcano that is the backdrop to many surreal sunsets, is a wonderful asset to the people living in and around Boquete. There are several great restaurants offering food from all over the world. The public transportation is excellent. The overall pace of life is much slower and relaxing compared to city life. The people are incredibly friendly and helpful. There's farmers markets, even a theater with plays and events, and there are festivals for flowers and coffee that are really cool and attract people from all over. There's even the Boquete Jazz and Blues Festival, which again attracts people from all over the world. And I could go on and on as to the reasons why I choose to live here, but those are just a few reasons that really attracted me initially.
Hey, Ryan, I'm just curious. Have you taken a 2 or 3 day hike to the top of Volcan Baru?
I have.
And how was it?
I left at 11 in the morning and in the rain and summited around 6:30 in the morning, and I was one of the lucky few that I could actually see the Caribbean and the Pacific from that point, because the cloud cover wasn't too bad. It was incredible. I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. Okay, Ryan, we have gotten to know you both personally and professionally, reasons why you chose Panama and why Boquete speaks to you. But get ready, because now it's time for us to pick your brain on the local real estate scene. And to get the juices flowing, we're going to do a quick round of what I like to call the real estate hot seat, where I ask you 5 rapid-fire questions, and you give me an answer in 15 seconds or less each. Ryan, are you ready for the Boquete Hot Seat?
Listo, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. What currency is real estate priced in?
The U.S. dollar, which makes life very easy for people from the U.S. or those who are used to dealing in U.S. currency.
Is owning property as a foreigner legal?
Yes, owning property as a foreigner is completely legal in Panama.
Can property be titled?
Yes, and most properties in Boquete are titled.
Can money flow in and out of Panama easily, or are there currency restrictions?
Panama is quickly becoming one of the financial hubs of the world, and money flows in and out very easily.
And Ryan, of course, my number one question, what is your favorite local drink?
Locally made rum inside of a fresh coconut.
Love it. Okay, Ryan, you can now relax, but just a little bit, as you were off the Boquete Hot Seat. But it's time to zero in on the local real estate scene. Give us your brief synopsis on the Boquete real estate market over the last few years, where it is today, and then where you see it heading for the next few years.
Of course. Boquete experienced a boom between roughly 2003 and 2006. And many high-quality homes were built here, either within one of the gated communities or outside of a gated community. When I arrived almost 4 years ago, many folks were affected by the world recession and began deciding to sell their homes, many of which were second or third home retreats. That led to a near halt on building and a very sluggish resale market. Recently, markets worldwide have relaxed a bit, and many people are discovering again the beauty and adventure of living outside of their countries of origin. So we have been experiencing a surge of qualified buyers considering Boquete. I'm starting to see inventory levels drop, particularly those in the $100,000 to $300,000 price range, which is getting developers excited to begin building again. I've heard many people call Boquete the Aspen or Breckenridge of Panama because of the draw to middle and upper class Panamanians to own a vacation spot here. So I see local clients as well as foreigners taking advantage of some great values right now. A substantial amount of government funds have been spent and or earmarked for the Boquete area to make access easier, including a new international airport in David, which is only 30 minutes away, and a brand new 4-lane highway connecting Boquete to David. The outlook for the real estate market here is actually very exciting.
Ryan, you have us sold on Panama as a country, Boquete as a mountain town, and then its real estate outlook within the near future. Of course, you don't have a crystal ball. I sure as heck don't. No one does. But that is why I think it's so vitally important to get on-the-ground insight from local real estate professionals. And yes, I just used the words local and on the ground in the same sentence to drive home a very important fact. Ryan, you are not some newsletter writer who might spend a few days in Boquete and then send out emails with hot buys calling yourself an international real estate guru. You are there in the trenches on a daily basis, dealing with local buyers, sellers, agents, lawyers, and every facet of the real estate business. Ryan, break this down even further for us. Pretend you are Google Maps or Google Street View. What streets, neighborhoods, or parts of the city are we talking about in Boquete?
Yeah, Taylor, I am in the trenches, as you say, and not just
That's right, buddy.
a visitor turned expert over a matter of days or weeks. I'm dumbfounded sometimes by the inaccuracies that I read from so-called travel writers trying to describe the real estate market in Boquete. In all fairness, though, I think that's mostly due to how quickly things are changing here. This interview will probably be outdated in 6 months, so let's talk again at that time.
Love it.
But back to your question. Boquete is relatively sparsely built compared to areas like Coronado and Panama City. There are so many options for new construction and so many different areas to choose from in and around Boquete. The town itself has a central park where many of the fruit and vegetable vendors sell their goods every day. There are said to be several different climate zones because of differing weather patterns affected by the mountainous terrain and variations in elevation. There are several roads that loop around the town through these various climate zones, and much of the produce, coffee, flowers that are grown here are area-specific because of the changes in elevation, rainfall, etc. And there are different neighborhoods around the center of town which will also factor into the decision-making process of someone considering real estate here. An equestrian facility, medical facilities, several gated communities, and 2 golf courses add to the current landscape.
Okay, Ryan, now that we have specific locations in mind, what types of properties do you recommend? And first, let me give you a few brief examples of what I mean. Are we talking about buying pre-construction units for capital appreciation that we flip? Are we talking about buying completed apartments, houses, or office spaces to generate rental income? Or are we talking about buying land to either sell as is or subdivide into smaller tracts? Ryan, give us a better idea of what you are talking about and recommending today.
Well, right now there's a real shortage of rentals in Boquete. Many people rent before deciding to pull the trigger to buy, but in certain seasons, rentals are very hard to come by. And I've been recently recommending buying something that can be converted into rental units or building townhouses or condos to clients interested in an immediate return. Buying from developers really varies in terms of risk. Some communities are very financially stable, more so than others. So talking with a professional in the real estate industry is very important for inside information that could certainly affect your investment. For someone looking to buy land, subdivide, and build, there are many possible properties available with potential growth upside. Boquete has been on the radar for retirees looking to live internationally for a long time now, and the area continues to be one of, if not the, top place to retire in the world. For that type of client, it's important to consider the property itself and how it will benefit someone with a retiree mindset, depending on their lifestyle needs.
Ryan, love the detailed breakdown. Now, I'm going to hit you up with a two-part question that I know everyone wants to know, and you have to give us a general range so we have some price points in mind. Here they are. Part 1. What would be the price range of what we are talking about? Maybe give us a starting price point at the low end to a final price point at the high end. And Ryan, just to clarify, I am talking about total purchase price. And go for it.
Okay. Price points for a simple, completed home start at around $125,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on about a 1,500 square meter lot, and go up to a couple million on the high end. The hot price range is currently $125,000 to $450,000 at the total purchase price.
Oh, fantastic. And transition to the part 2, what would be the cost per meter? Again, maybe a starting price point at the low end and a final price point at the high end, just for a general range.
Sure. Cost per meter, per square meter for land ranges greatly depending on location, of course. On average, anywhere between $5 a square meter to $40 a square meter, and that's for land. It is possible to find as low as $1 per square meter and as high as $100 a square meter for land. Now, cost per square meter for homes ranges from around $500 a square meter to $1,200 a square meter, with the average being between $700 a square meter to $1,000 a square meter.
And for listeners like me who are used to dealing in square feet, divide the numbers you hear by 10.76 or maybe just a flat 10, and you get close enough numbers to get an idea of what Ryan is referring to. Okay, Ryan, this is a question I like to call, what would Grandma do? My grandma calls you up, says she has X amount of dollars to spend. You can't let my grandma down. Share with us 3 specific examples you would show her and explain why these make sense.
Well, for me personally, the goal is for my clients to feel like they've been treated like family once we are done with the process. So for anyone, and especially, of course, your grandma, I would currently recommend looking at properties that are in an area that allow for social interaction if desired, but also have the ability to have a high level of privacy. I might also recommend a property that would suit a person who will rent for a long-term vacation. The demand for rentals is high, so if you ever need the extra income, the opportunity to lease your property is nice to have. For the newcomer, I might recommend starting in a gated community to allow for the initial cultural change and the ability to lock and leave. In addition, properties in gated communities seem to hold their values overall, so you can always sell and buy something outside of the gates later on.
Ryan, we are laser focused on specific areas of Boquete. We know our starting price point. We have an idea of cost per meter. We have 3 specific examples which are good enough even for Grandma. Now let me ask you an obvious question. How do we buy? Do we need to come in with all cash, whether that's from our checking account, home equity line of credit, or retirement funds? Or can we come in with a certain percentage down and get local financing from a bank or credit union?
Well, Mike Vitovich, one of the 2 owners of Inside Panama Real Estate that I work with, said it perfectly in your Coronado interview, so I'm going to repeat what he says.
Yeah, go for it.
Most of our buyers are buying with cash as they are selling their current residence before moving on. Some do get a line of credit for their property in their home country if they still have equity that they can access. There's institutional financing available here with the banks, but the process can be slow and uncertain and can sometimes compromise leverage when negotiating with the seller on the front end. The required down payment for foreigners is typically 30%. The term of the loan can vary depending on the age of the buyer and will likely require life insurance as well, which can be a significant increase to the monthly payment. Some of the developers also offer short-term financing, 3 to 5 years on average, with little or no qualifying. And this usually also requires a 10 to 30% down depending on terms. Many buyers are now electing to utilize the self-directed retirement account. This is more popular as many are worried about the security of their retirement funds.
Okay, Ryan, anyone who has ever owned real estate can tell you, you need to have a money exit strategy in place even before you buy. It's something what I like to call, where's the cheddar? You are buying the property to do what with it to make some money. So Ryan, where's my cheddar?
It's a great question and a harder one to answer, to be honest, because it depends on the specific needs of each totally unique buyer. And like anywhere, the market here will go through its ups and downs. And trying to play the market on the short term and expecting to make a bunch of money by flipping within 5 or 7 years does not seem to be the way to go in this location and current market. I strongly encourage clients to either rent first or at least spend a good deal of time in Boquete before buying. If a client is investing for return via rental income, for example, it is very important to identify the people who will be assisting you in doing so, like a great property manager. Without someone managing a rental property that has the connections for who to call when something inevitably goes wrong, it can be very costly to manage from afar. For me, there are investment opportunities, financially speaking, but the real investment is finding a desirable property at a great value and to begin a new chapter of life in an amazing location. If your main residence is your home in Boquete, chances are when you are ready to sell and move on later in life, if the market is up and you make money here, you're going to pay more money for a similar property elsewhere, and vice versa if the prices are lower. I'd be happy to elaborate a little more to anyone who asks and can give me their specific goals so I can provide some strategy options unique to their needs.
Ryan, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to share with us about Boquete Real Estate. We have heard about your journey, why you chose Panama, exact areas of Boquete to focus on, price points to look out for, specific examples good enough even for grandma, a money strategy to purchase, and then what we might do with it after the fact to make some cheddar. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. But before we do, share with us easy ways to get a hold of you, any parting advice you might want to share, and then let's say goodbye.
Okay, the best way to reach me is by my email address, which is my first name Ryan, which is ryan.braasch@gmail.com, or by calling my cell at 507-6528-0723. I also have a U.S.-based number that is free to anyone calling from the U.S. if they have a free long-distance plan. That number is 414-207-9955. My Skype name is Ryan Panama, RyanPanama, all lowercase. You can find lots of valuable information and see many properties for sale or rent on our website at www.insidepanamarealestate, all one word, lowercase.com. This is also where you can view the property profile videos the company produced in the Panama Communities section. I welcome your thoughts and any questions that you might have, and we are currently conducting Panama Lifestyle Conferences here in Panama, and we also offer private custom real estate tours.
Awesome, Ryan. I have really enjoyed this conversation straight from Boquete, Panama to our earbuds, and I hope we can catch up again in 3 to 6 months.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Taylor, and I look forward to speaking with you again in the near future.
I want to thank Ryan once again for his fantastic take being on the ground in Boquete. Speaking with Ryan reconfirms what this show is all about. Instead of dealing with producers who meddle or copy editors who delete Ryan's words for theirs, we hop on Skype, record the call, cut out the rest, and bring you the information direct. I can't wait to get Ryan back on the show again soon with more specific Boquete real estate investments he believes you need to hear about right now. If you're listening to this podcast and want to grab Ryan's contact details, links on buying or selling Boquete real estate, or any other show notes, head on over to irelpodcast.com/8. Do you get excited watching all those international real estate shows on TV, but get frustrated when you have no way to contact them? Tired of searching for overseas property online, only to get stuck in email hell with sales pitch after sales pitch about so-called secrets? Yeah, that makes two of us. Join me each episode as I cut through the scripted reality property shows and give you all the pertinent information you need to know about to follow up. Whether you want to hear direct from an agent in Playas, Ecuador, a developer in Azuero, Panama, or a property investor in Madrid, Spain, I invite you to join me. Head on over to irelpodcast.com/8 to get started.
You have been listening to the IREL Podcast with Taylor White. Be sure to hit up IRELpodcast.com for more. That's IRELpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.